Hello everybody, this is Cresso. I'm here for another interesting topic. And this topic, I'm going to talk about the ego. I know a lot of my clips, I always talk about the ego. I send tweet messages about the ego, and I made a clip on my thoughts. It's called Cresso's Thoughts. And I just, that clip, I was just basically talking about what goes on my mind on a daily basis. But I want to focus more on the ego. I want to focus on a lot of things the ego is part of us, okay? It's part of consciousness now, okay? I realized that through the years that we don't really talk about the ego. Let's just say, it's not like an everyday conversation between people. Well, we will say things to people when somebody's going ballistic, but in an everyday conversation, no, we don't really talk about the ego. But I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to use a little bit of reference points from some of my clips. I'm going to, I'm going to basically talk about it, how the ego works, how we allow it, and how it shapes a lot of things between, in our society. And also, I'm going to talk about how to put the ego in its place by doing something, by a simple approach. So I'm gonna give the best examples, okay? What goes on, how we act among ourselves, or or just whatever, between people, between how you feel about yourself, everything, the things you do, whatever you believe, different things. And they actually this been talked about. Actually, I've heard a clip about the structured mind. I don't want to confuse anybody, but you all heard of this, the subconscious and the conscious mind, right? The subconscious, for my understanding, the subconscious, okay, I'm going to say this real quick because I don't want to confuse everybody of what I'm about to share for the rest of this clip, okay? But this is what I heard from like older clips that's been talked about maybe years ago. The subconscious mind is what I call it consciousness, okay? Okay, so you got the subconscious and you got the conscious mind. The conscious mind is basically the ego mind, okay? All right, everybody always talks about, you tap in, your subconscious thoughts and stuff like that. That kind of, it's like the voice of reason. It's the actual voice that try to elevate you back up when you're feeling like crap. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there, okay, real quick. But I don't want to confuse anybody, okay? I got different ways how I say things, but it's very similar from other clips, okay? Okay. You see, I look at myself. I look at myself. I look at other people. I look at a lot of ideas that we all created. Okay. I'm going to talk about people's behavior, how they talk, how they act among themselves, and everything. Wow. I gotta try to see where I can start. It's a lot, but a lot of you that's gonna listen to this, you're probably not gonna. You're gonna probably be shocked. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. But I'm gonna do my best to break it down and connect with everything. Okay, and just basically expose how the ego works. All right, the ego to me is, like I was saying earlier from that little example, the ego is the structured mind. Okay, its sole purpose, basically, it relies on the physical. That's it. It's the physical. That's like the ego's domain. Okay. Everything on the physical plane. Okay. You see, with humanity, you see, we allow the ego basically to play, let's just say, some sort of God over us, even though we're consciousness, okay? We're consciousness. It's that, you see, and now some of the stuff, now if you listen to some of my clips, you probably will understand a little bit what I'm about to say. You see, for the human experience, you know, my take on for the human experience is about self-discovery. Okay, we put the ego there to micromanage. Okay, it's just, you know, it's all, I call it, a lot of my clips, I call it, it's a game. Okay, we allow the ego micromanage us, and every thought, every feeling, everything that you create. Okay, everything how you feel, everything. Shucks, it goes from basically how families are made, built, family, all kinds of relationships. It ranges from that, it ranges from religion that we created, it ranges from like schools, or let's say, for example, you take pride into this certificate, or you decided to be a snob, think you're smarter than the next person, or you think that you have more money than that person, or you think that you're lower, you feel like a loser, right? You walk around with a loser mentality, right? And you believe that next person's better than you, right? Those things, right? You see, I'm gonna say this, okay? And I'm gonna do my best to really connect with different things. So it may seem like I'm dancing around, okay? So, you know, I really hope you follow me in everything I'm gonna say. You see, the ego basically, that little voice, it's a difference. There's a difference between a little voice and a voice that basically elevates you, that builds you up. There's a different type of voice in your head, okay? I'm gonna break it down simple. When you have a voice that basically, you know, and you feel like something's holding you back. You feel like that voice in your head is holding you back. Like you want to do it. You want to do something, right? But that voice in your head saying to you, that's just stupid. Why would you do that? You know? Oh, no one's not gonna believe you. You know? Or your family's not gonna be proud of you. Or it suggests basically to, you know, you gotta fight. You believe in the idea that everybody's against you too. You got that. You got that. You got basically things that you want to do that you feel like it's ridiculous. You're all wrapped up. You're just basically being a perfectionist about yourself. You're hard on yourself, right? You don't like the next person because of skin color or whatever the case may be. Or you're holding on to layers of stories about yourself and other people, and you're still carrying around this old baggage of stuff, right? You see, for the human experience, okay, humanity is just, not everybody, but a lot of people, we fall under the illusion that there's certain things that's being set, that, let's say, things that's being created, and we think it's just the way it is, all set in stone. It's an illusion. You see, the structured mind has a purpose, okay, which is the ego. It has a purpose. But, you know, the thing with humanity, and it's all part of an experience. We allow the structured mind to basically play as consciousness. A very close friend of mine call it the ego consciousness. Okay? It's not consciousness, okay? It's the ego consciousness, okay? The ego basically is based on the physical only. It basically will play like it's consciousness, okay? But it can never understand consciousness. It has a limit. Consciousness is the spirit. It's spiritual. Consciousness is the physical and the unseen. You know, consciousness is basically source of everything. Consciousness is the void. there's a lot of things, everybody, that you listen to this clip, a lot of traditions, a lot of things that you believe, a lot of all the values that you believe, right? I tell you this, by you listening to my clip, this clip right now, you're gonna be surprised at a lot of things that you believe, that you hold so dearly. You'd be amazed at a lot of stuff that you allow your own ego wrap you around the web. I'm telling you, there's a lot. And I'm gonna do my best again to give examples here. And, you know, again, my purpose, a lot of my clips, my purpose is to inspire people, to empower themselves, to think, or just, you know, put your ego in its place. You know, that because you are consciousness. So, yeah, a lot of traditions that you hold, a lot of stuff. I mean, it could be something that, you know, that you're not happy, you're following tradition, but, you know, it's basically holding you down. Now, a lot of things I'm going to say is not going to apply to everybody, okay? It's not. So, yeah, you walk around with with an idea that's basically holding you back. Traditions, or let's say different religion beliefs, or a mentality that you have in your job about other people, about yourself, you know? And that voice in your head will say things to you that you know deep down inside, in spirit, you know is not helping you. But you see, the thing is, with the ego mind, it will try to play the invisible. It try to play it will try to incognito itself to that you're not realizing that it is that you basically tripping over your own ego. I'm saying this because I have my moment that I have to stop, and I have to meditate. And I had to really check myself. I'm like, whoa, I'm tripping over my own ego. You see, consciousness is basically all about, consciousness doesn't need structure, okay? It doesn't. It could basically be, consciousness is anything, okay? And when you're at peace with yourself, okay, that's when you know where you at spiritually. And I want to get to that in the end, but I want to just basically give an example about the ego, okay? All right, I know I talk about, again, a lot of my clips I talk about the ego, okay? Yeah, your job, you're not happy, whatever you go through, you're not happy at your job, right? You got layers of stories, right? You play as a victim, okay? You listen to this voice in your head, okay? The ego will come up with very convincing stories about yourself, about how you are not able to get the things that you prefer. You know, it figured things out for you, right? The ego would try to play or try to fulfill that gap that you decided to put yourself under spiritually. It would try to figure things out for you, right? To get yourself out of this, let's say, the underdog story. Right? You're the victim. And it will figure things out to get you out of something momentarily. Okay? So you got yourself out of one drama box, but then you find yourself in another drama box. Right? You always wonder, like, damn, why I'm like, my life is filled with problems. Right? It's because you rely on your ego. You just think that, you know, you're putting yourself in a situation that you may be basically through with one situation momentarily, but then you find yourself in another situation. There's different ways to go about it, to put the ego in its place. But again, the ego is going to feel like, yes, I figured this out for you. Yes, I was able to get you out of this jam that you're in. And then, you know, again, I'm saying this. You find yourself in another jam, right? I'm like, it's an illusion that you think is that if you rely on the ego, that it's an illusion that you think that you got yourself out of the jam and that's it. It's done. It's over. But no, it's not. Because once you rely on the ego, you're going to attract more problems. You're going to put yourself in the same situation, very similar from the last situation. This is kind of falls under my, this kind of falls very similar to my clip that I made, the power of synchronicity. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when you allow your structured mind, when you rely on it completely, you're not allowing yourself to expand spiritually. But, you know, this is part of the human experience. I call it the human paradigm. It's about self-discovery. You're playing a game of finding yourself, of who you really are. So you got situations like that, right? You feel like, you know, you got a job, you're not happy, all right? I observe people. Through the years, I observe people. I guess I've people watched for a very long time, and I analyze myself a lot. I guess there's a reason for everything, obviously. So, you know, you see two people arguing, right? Two people arguing, right? One person wants to be right, and one person wants. Two people think they're both right. Two people arguing for whatever reason. You know what's going on? Both people allowing their own ego wrap them up. Yeah. It's about who's right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. You're wrong, and I'm right. That's why you got a lot of people arguing, disputing, and also disputing over petty stuff. That's the reason why we decided to create the idea of a court system. We created a court system because it's all egotistic. The court system, I made a clip on consciousness overturns the court system. So I'm going to touch briefly on that. You see, the court system is based on people holding on to old stories about themselves, okay, that they decided to not let go. They allow their own ego, their structured mind, to take control, okay? And then, okay, that kind of falls under the victim mentality. And then it's about the lack mentality of money, okay? That's what I touch on that clip on about consciousness overturns court system. So yeah. So yeah, the ego basically, you know, we created that because we create the core system because we rely on the ego, okay? We create the idea of law and order, okay? I made a clip on law and order. The title of those clips is Cops and Robbers. We created that because, you see, because we rely only on our structured mind for the moment, okay? We think that we have to have some law and order. We have to have some authority over people. Also at the same time, because we decided to be afraid. And on top of that, a lot of people walk around, again, with old stories about themselves. And that's how they find themselves doing some other activities, which we call them criminals, right? Then we have the idea of a cop, police officer, right? We think somebody that just have to have authority, to protect and serve, blah, 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 right? But then that's also an egotistic idea because of the idea of authority. You need to have authority over somebody, which is proven over time that law and order doesn't work. It doesn't. A lot of us, through different part of the world, you probably be shocked to hear that, but the truth of the matter is, people, that law and order doesn't work. It's a very egotistic idea. Okay? So yeah. Somebody that commits a crime is because they have a victim mentality about themselves. They have old stories about themselves. They listen to their own ego saying that you do not deserve the best things in life. You gotta do certain things. You gotta hustle, you gotta do certain things to get that. You gotta rob this person, or you gotta seek vengeance on that person. Your ego mind saying, you gonna let somebody do that to you? What are you gonna do? You're gonna allow somebody to do that to you? So the person, right, before they committed the criminal activity, right, they're listening to their own ego. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna allow somebody to do that to me. And pop, 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 somebody got a gun, start shooting. Because they allow their own ego to micromanage them. The police officer plays a role of an egotistic idea. Yes, it wants to protect and serve, right? I don't want to go too far off the topic. I already created a clip on cops and robbers, right? But then, you know, the ego has the thing with the cops is that, and it's really, I'm going to put it plain and simple. A lot of cops, let's say anybody's listening to this that's a cop, or you know someone that's a cop, they're not going to admit it. But they love the idea that you have some authority over somebody. It makes you, you know, got that badge, right? Swinging around your nightstick, whatever, right? But you know, you're allowing your own ego, again, wrap you around the web. Your ego's telling you, it's like, yeah, you're the law, and people got to obey you. And when you blow that siren, yeah, it feels good. Feels good to have that siren. Feels good to have a badge and gun, because your ego is telling you people are going to listen to you. People are afraid of you. People don't want to get that ticket, or they don't want to go to jail because you are the law enforcer. So yeah, a lot of you claim like you're doing great to the community. I'm just basically just being straight up with you. Whether you're going to admit it or not, the point is, everybody, that if you're a law enforcer, yeah, your ego is really high. Again, you may not admit that because you're pride. So it goes in both directions between the criminals and cops. Okay. Next section. Okay. Basically, you know, when humanity, we have this thing about, I realize that we look at ourselves very small. We think that there's something above us or somewhere in the sky. We think that there's something out there that has some powers over us. We look down on ourselves because we just, you know, we decided to think that we are puny little human beings. And that's why religion that's how the idea of religion's been created. We created religion. We look at ourselves so low. We think that because of a being that comes from a different dimension, we call it a god. And again, you know, everybody, it's all part of the human experience. Oh, I'm sorry, the human paradigm. It's about self-discovery. So you play the game that some other being from another dimension that's a god over you, or it has powers over you, right? And a lot of you walk around feeling like, oh my gosh, I read posted forums on YouTube and other places on the internet. People, how they feel about humanity. People feel that, you know, oh man, are there any intelligent humans on this world? I'm like, and you just knock everybody down, right? Those people that do that is because they allow their own ego wrapped up around the web too. And you know what, everybody? I was the same way too. I had a certain feelings about human beings. I looked down on human beings. I did. I felt like I was at a moment that I felt frustrated with people. I felt like, I'm just being honest, everybody. I felt like people are just very slow. I'm like, why people create these ideas it just puts everybody in a circle. And I allow my own ego wrap myself around the web. My own ego. I allow it to take control of me at the moment. When you look down on somebody, people, right? Or when you look up at somebody, right? And you find yourself like you're nothing, you're lower, you're basically egotistic. I mean, yeah, we created an outside God. We got something out there. We think every human being is stupid. There's no hope for humanity. You allow your own ego get the best of you. Okay? And I was just telling you about how we look up to somebody, how we look down on somebody. Yeah, we got celebrity. The idea of a celebrity. I made a clip on that. But it's not just a celebrity. It's about the idea of somebody being popular. It's about we basically sweating somebody so much, right? There's a lot of things in humanity I realize, a lot of ideas, a lot of different things that we do, is that we basically, again, we allow our own ego basically take control of us at that moment. I mean, I want to say this to everybody, and what I'm about to say, I want you to think this to yourself. This is a little test for yourself. Say this to yourself. I want you to say this to yourself right now. Okay? Say that no matter what I've done, no matter who I am, no matter where I'm from, I deserve every best thing in life. I deserve it. I want you to honestly say that to yourself. Say that to yourself. Okay? And you know, and if you feel like it's a struggle to say that to yourself, or you don't believe it, right? Or you feel like you have to fight to earn it, my friends, you're basically allowing your ego to take control of you. Every person around this world deserves the best thing in life. The thing about I learned, and I do talk about I'm not originally from this. I'm not of a human. And not to say that I'm better than anybody, okay? The truth is that I'm not of a human. I did reincarnated from another world, okay? And I made a decision to come here. I am consciousness, just like you, okay? One of the things I observe about humanity, and I say this in a lot of my clips, is that we have this thing from upbringing that you gotta basically, things not given to you. You gotta earn it, right? It's the same basic thing that you get from upbringing. And that basically widespread in a lot of different things. That widespreads on a lot of things. A lot. I'm like, I say to myself that if people understand who they really are, when they decide to wake up, they're not gonna fall under the stigma that I have to basically earn the best things in life. Because you know why? Because life is made simple for me. Everything is given to me because of who I am. And I'm going to talk about, towards the end, I'm going to talk about how to basically put the ego in its place. So yeah, we grew up with these things that you gotta earn it. I talk a little bit about that in my clip called The Human Paradigm. We look down, we look at somebody, we tell somebody, who do you think you are? Like, who are you? Because somebody is expressing themselves about something, right? And then we say to that person, who do you think you are? So somebody, so when you say that, people, who do you think you are? Yeah, it's your ego talking. And if somebody tells me, who do I think I am? I'll just say this, I am what I am. So that's just it. And I'm gonna say this, okay? And a lot of stuff I'm calling stuff out because I fall under that stuff. When you gotta prove something to somebody, right? When you feel like you gotta, do all kinds of crazy things, you gotta prove, you also allowing your ego to control you for the moment. I feel sometimes I gotta prove something to somebody. I'm like, why? Because of my own ego is threatened. You see, the ego works in many different forms, different ways in a physical plane. It will come out with strategies of how to basically try to outmaneuver this person, basically saying, hey, no. If you want to be better than this person, you got to do it like this. You got to basically put someone in there, you got to rub it in their face, kind of like in your face. You got to do that, do this, talk a certain word, say this, act a certain way, right? And it's funny, it's just interesting how the ego works. The ego will basically be threatened by another egotistic person that decided to have their own ego take control. So yeah, you got two egos basically butting heads. One person feel like all bombarded because this person said this and that, Yeah, I'm just telling you, I'm just calling stuff out. Giving out the best examples I could think of. Coming out with all saying these things about anybody, feeling a certain way about yourself. I mean, it's not really complicated if you think about it. That if you have a feeling inside of you, right? And it's not serving you, it's not really consciousness. I mean, consciousness is put itself for an experience. All this is an experience. But I'm saying that, you see, when you rediscover, when consciousness rediscovers itself, it's not going to say, yeah, I am a loser. No. I mean, consciousness can say I'm a loser, but the truth of the matter is consciousness is everything. But when you just rely on your ego, the ego is going to look at all the things that you have, right, on a physical plane. Your ego is going to say, you don't have that car that you basically, let's say, for example, oh, that your girlfriend, your girlfriend's going to like you more if you have that car. Or if you're wearing these certain clothes, you'll look more, people will like you more. I'm like, or if your hair look a certain way, people will like you more. Yeah, those things. Those are very egotistic ideas. Very egotistic idea. It's not wrong that you want to look good, but you got to really, there's a difference there, everybody. If you want to look good, or if you want to have certain things, have it because you yourself, that it's your bliss, it's your highest joy. There's a difference now. Again, it's a little tricky. The ego sometimes will play incognito itself. You're going to think that, oh, I'm not being egotistic, but if you look closely and you got to prove something to people and you got to do all kinds of things just for people to get approval from anybody, you are allowing your own ego wrapped you around the web. You are. But it's all those things that I'm saying to you, everybody. It's just an experience. It's not, just because you don't have a car, or just because a certain amount of money that you have, that doesn't define who you really are. But you see, your ego, basically it relies only on a physical plane. It's going to say to you, suggest to you that that's all there is to life. Because the ego cannot understand anything that's outside the physical plane. It is not able to see the bigger picture of things. You're much more than having these cars or any possessions that you have. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any good possession. Everybody deserves every great thing. But if you're going to allow certain things, let's say a possession, to define you, that's something that you really got to check that for yourself. Or if you're trying to win approval of anybody, or you try to win an argument over somebody. I'm going to say this, for those that's trying to win an argument over somebody, look, just put your ego in put your own ego in its place. And honestly, really, if you understand the inner workings of life, that life is infinite, you're not going to basically be bothered with these petty arguments. Let the person argue with them themselves. Just walk away. I know sometimes your own ego will say, you're gonna take that? You're gonna take that? No, you need to answer back like this. You need to just answer someone like you need to say like this. You ever felt like you had an argument with somebody, right? And the argument was over, and your mind's telling you over and over, 1,000 different ways that you should have, could have. You should have came out like that. You could have came out like this. Should have did this, that, blah, 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 blah. I used to go through that a lot. My head used to drive me crazy. Over the years, my mind come up with all kinds of scenarios, like as if I'm still going through the argument with that person. You should say this. If you said it like that, then you would have shut that person up right there on the spot. Oh no, if you would have said it like this, if you would have tell somebody off like that, man, I tell you, that person wouldn't know what to say. And you know what, everybody? You gotta think about this. Does it really matter? I mean, really, does it really matter? I know to the mind, it's very convincing to try to outdo the next person of an argument. Oh yes, it feels good. I know. It feels good. I'm saying this to everybody because I've gone through this. I'm gonna share this with you real quick. A little bit of a personal thing here. I went to a court about a parking ticket, right? And my mentality, okay, I decided to go. I didn't have to go to the court about a parking ticket, but I did. I spoke to this, someone that plays a function of a judge, okay? Your Honor, okay? Anyway, when basically I told, I could have argued and done certain things, but I didn't. You know what I say? I told the person that, I took the responsibility that I created these laws, these petty laws. I did. I took the responsibility. And I know a lot of us allow these things. We allow it. So when a person was basically reduced the ticket to whatever amount, right? The person thought I was upset. I was very nonchalant. I told the judge that one way or another, things gonna work out for me. I was confident. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't trying to fight, because I don't need to fight. I honestly, because I am consciousness. I just decided that I'm not going to dance with somebody's ego. Even under the position of a judge, I'm not going to argue. That person have no significant power over me. So when a person felt that telling me with all the laws and all that other blah blah blah, right? I was very nonchalant. I'm like, okay. So the person thought I was upset. I'm like, me? No, I'm not upset at all. I felt good about that when I walked away, because you know why? Because in other times I would have got angry and I would have said something. I would have danced with this person's ego. Yeah, I would. I'm like, but I understand the inner workings of life. And I'm going to say this to everybody. I do have my moments that I have to check my own ego, because you see, the ego is basically, when you connect with consciousness, your ego is threatened because it feels it's insecure. Because see, in humanity, we allow the ego to be, it's gotten so comfortable playing a god over us, right? It becomes a worrisome. It worries. It wants to figure everything out for you. It has a purpose, but because we allow it to micromanage us for so long, so it's used to it. So when you do things that's outside, when you do something that's outside the grid, your ego is going to say, "What are you doing? What are you, crazy?" When you go outside a structured mind and not really align yourself with a lot of stuff that we basically created, right? A lot of structured stuff that we created that's so egotistic, your own ego is going to feel threatened. I'm like, because you're basically removing yourself out of the game. The ego wants to do these things for you. It wants to save you. It wants to calculate everything for you. It wants to win arguments over people. It wants to make you feel like you're the victim, and that everyone has to feel sorry for you. Right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we hold on to, that we created on a physical plane. And you may not realize it, but your ego is having fun with you every day. When you get up and you say to yourself, just like, I'm going to say this for example, when you feel like you're just getting up to go to work and you feel like, I'm in a grind, I got to get into the grind, your ego, again, is wrapping you up in a web. First thing in the morning, you wake up feeling miserable, right? You don't want to go to work? It's your ego. You feel trapped because you rely on the physical plane so much. You think that everything that goes on in life on the physical plane, that's it. Because your own ego, again, its domain is the physical. You allow it, not you, but all of us, we allow it to micromanage us for so long. So yeah, you're gonna feel like you're trapped. You're gonna feel like a victim. I mean, we created government. Government is another egotistic idea. But because you see, a lot of us, we're in denial about that, and a lot of us feel like having government is necessary because you rely on the physical. I know a lot of you probably think I'm anti-government. I care less. I know that the inner workings of life, that yes, because I know who we are, that we don't need government. Government are like, to me, any government system to me is like training wheels. It's time to grow up, people. But you know what? You can stay as an infant if you like. If you want to be an infant, and if you want somebody to micromanage you, right, and think for you, or all that, like the ego, you're freedom. So you can stay like an infant if you want. I mean, it's never too late. But I decided to grow up. Now your ego might be, your pride might be ruffled up. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean I'm not grown up? See, if you think that, it's your own ego. Everything we do is a choice, everybody. It is. The ego is not powerful than you. It's not. It acts like it does. When you try to do things against you try to do something that's outside the system, this whole matrix system, I call it, it's gonna be very uncomfortable for the ego because you are taking it out of its game. You understand, everybody? A lot of people walk around with this idea that they want to do so many things in life. And you know why a lot of people are not doing the things they want to do in life or following their highest joy? It's because they follow that voice in their head. You follow that voice in your head that you're just, what? You're not smart enough? What? You don't got that, you're not well educated? Or maybe you can't speak well? Okay, you're not well educated, you can't speak well. Or maybe because you grew up in this neighborhood, right? And people are not going to look up to you or whatever, right? You come up with all these stories about yourself. But because of that, right, you're not following your highest joy. You're not doing the things you enjoy doing. You're giving yourself so many excuses of you not basically living the life that you prefer. Your ego mind will come up with very compelling stories as to why you can't do the things that you enjoy doing. Your own ego will tell you things like, what do you mean life is too easy? What do you mean life is easy? Life is not easy. Life is hard, right? That's the thing about humanity. A lot of us grew up, like I was saying to you earlier, a lot of us grew up that we have to earn it. Life is hard. Life is not easy, right? We put ourselves, I tell you everybody, a lot of my clips, I'm going to say this. We put ourselves through so much stuff that the way I see things spiritually, a lot of things that we put ourselves under is unnecessary. I tell people that life is simple, but for anybody that relies on the ego, the physical plane, you're gonna think that what I'm saying to you is crazy. Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm crazy. I'm glad I'm crazy. My own ego tells me things like people are not going to understand me. People are just going to think I'm weird. No one's not going to think you're not going to be Mr. Popular. I'm like, hey, my own ego will try to suggest that to me. It will try to suggest to me that what I'm doing to inspire people is pointless. Like, what are you doing? I mean, what are you getting out of it? And you know what, everybody? Because I know who I am. I just keep going. I understand how life is so much more than ever. I just put my ego in its place. It will blab, blab, blab all the time. But my own, like I said, I have my moments, but it doesn't matter. I forgive myself, I just move on. My own ego doesn't have any power over me if I allow it momentarily. But there's a lot of things that we do to ourselves. I want you to say this, everybody. Say that I deserve to be a billionaire. I deserve it. Or in fact, you know what? I want everybody to say this, okay? And be honest how you feel about yourself, okay? Say that I am a billionaire. And it's the truth now. You are a billionaire. Say that to yourself. Say that to yourself and listen. Listen to that inner voice inside of you, right? What's the first thing? Tell me, think to yourself, and if you want to comment on my clip, okay? What is the first thought that comes to mind when you say to yourself, I am a billionaire, or I deserve the money, I deserve to be wealthy because I am wealthy? Just using it as an example. If you want to share this on a comment, great. But be honest with yourself. What is the first thought you have in your head that comes up? Here's another one. Say, let's just say for those that's not seeing somebody. You're single, right? Say to yourself, I deserve, and be absolutely confident. I deserve for example, I deserve an intelligent, attractive woman. I deserve an intelligent, attractive guy. I deserve. Just say it. Okay? Now this might not, everything I'm saying is not going to apply to everybody, but for those, What is the first thought that comes up? What is that? I also call this the chatter mind. What is the first thought comes to your mind? I'm gonna say this to you, everybody. When I say these things, or I used to feel that way, or there was a point that I'm in a transition of like being awakened to reconnect to myself. I used to have these voices in my head like, oh, you don't deserve that. Oh, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve that. And it will come up with other stories why I don't deserve that. It will say because it will grab, my own ego will grab old crap that happened maybe years ago, and it will throw it at me. Say, you know why you don't deserve this? Because you did this. You remember that? You did this. And because you did that, you're still a loser. Or let's say somebody you have a situation with a long time ago, but you're still holding on. But you want to come to that person, or maybe one person or group of people, and you want to share something. Let's say you turn into a new leaf, right? You're not the same person no more, but you're so excited. You want to share something to somebody, right? And sometimes some of us will come up with thoughts like this. Your own ego will grab stuff from the past. Oh, these people they're not gonna believe that you change. They're gonna think that you basically are crazy. They're gonna look at you and say, oh yeah, you didn't change. You're still the same person. What are you talking about? Right? You understand what I'm talking about, everybody? Or let's say you kicked a habit, or let's say you was an alcoholic. Or let's say if you used to use these drugs that mess you up, right? You say to yourself, and let's say you got out of it, right? You basically, you're not doing those things no more, but you still walk around with stories in your head. Deep down inside, you walk around with a story of yourself. You're saying to yourself, yeah, people gonna still look at me as a loser. People still look at me as a drug addict or alcoholic. You walk around with that hidden thought in your head. Yep, that ego of yours, just keeping that nice and warm for you. Yeah, you walk around with certain feelings about yourself and other people, right? A lot of stuff that I'm saying to you, everybody, this is something that you're gonna have to basically re-examine very deep, very carefully, very carefully. A lot of stuff that I'm sharing to you is basically going to conflict with a lot of traditional values and stuff that we believe in so much. Yeah, it will. Basically, it will. It will challenge a lot of stuff that we hold up and that we believe in so much. So yeah, yeah. So it's like, the thing is that everybody, that we do deserve every great thing in life. I want to get to the end quick. We do deserve every great thing in life. But your own mind, your own head that you hold up to old stories about yourself is going to tell you otherwise. It's going to say, no, you don't deserve these things because you did this, you did that. You're not good enough, right? Or you got to earn it, right? Or you got to compete against that person, right? Yeah, it's going to say those things. It is. Again, everybody, a lot of stuff I see in humanity, a lot of stuff that I see, you see, you'd be amazed that when you don't rely on your own ego, you'd be amazed how this world change. And I do envision that. I do. Spiritually, I do envision this world change. It's amazing. It's amazing when we decide not to allow these little voices in our head that try to micromanage us, to put it aside. It's amazing. I could tell you this. There's a lot of things that, whatever, a lot of stuff that we feel like it's impossible to solve in life. There's a lot of things that could be solved. A lot of the things that we think that it's impossible, right? A lot of things could be basically done away with. I truly believe that. I do. I mean, I say things like, for example, here's another example. I say things like I envision closing every police station and prison institution down. I do. A lot of us think that's crazy. I don't care if it's crazy, but this is what I envision. You see, everybody, I don't really care so much about the structure. I don't really care about the structure. I don't. I think that, yeah, structure is life, but life is much more than structure. And humanity relies so much on structure, so much. And you always wonder why you feel so limited. You feel so limited. You don't allow yourself, and you're doing this, it's all about self-discovery. You'll allow yourself to not expand spiritually for the moment. The ego also will be so convincing. That's why a lot of us decide to be afraid. Your ego will try to calculate different things. Oh, you do this, you do that. If you do this, this will happen. Right? If don't do this, this will happen. Da da da. I know a lot of stuff that I'm sharing to you, it does require everybody to be open, or you got to be at a point of basically waking up. But I'm still going to share those for everybody that basically that's listening and kind of curious what I have to say. But yeah, the ego mind is basically going to throw a lot of convincing things, saying things to you that is basically impossible. It is impossible to get certain things or change certain things, and that's the thing. That's what the ego does. Again, we allow it to micromanage us. It's not about winning arguments. It's not about you thinking that you have something over somebody or you have an authority. Or it's not about, life is much more than that. Life is much more than being a victim or trying to do something to harm somebody. Or you're looking down on someone because you think you're smarter. Or you think because you live in a better neighborhood than that person. Or the person that lives in the quote-unquote undesirable neighborhood. That doesn't, life is much more than you walking around with a story about yourself that you live in an undesirable neighborhood or the ghetto, whatever. Life is much more than that. And all these things, everybody, I'm telling you about, even though it's structured, all those things are changeable. And I'm going to say this right now, okay? I'm gonna use a reference point on my other clip, okay? the created a clip called the Yellow Brick Road of Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a tool that's been put there by us, because we are consciousness now, okay? You see, ayahuasca, okay, is a tool to help you spiritually, okay? It's just one of the tools now, okay? It's different plants. So for those that didn't hear, for those that don't know about ayahuasca, research it, please. It basically, it doesn't really go by structure. And that is the reason why a lot of our governments that we created don't like the idea of people using ayahuasca, because since the government is an egotistic idea, okay, again, it's about the ego feels threatened. The ego feels threatened, basically, okay? Ayahuasca will show you things about life, that life is much more beyond structure, okay? So yeah, a lot of things have been influenced, not just ayahuasca, but I've been influenced. I reconnected with other ways, you know. I reconnected to who I am through consciousness. But ayahuasca will basically show you things outside of structure. When I have my ayahuasca experience, okay, my own, you know what happened to my own ego? It's just been put on the side. A lot of my experience I had has basically been channeling. It's been nothing but channel experience with other dimensional beings. It used my body to talk. But the ego, where was the ego? It was put aside. I took control of my ego. I said to my ego, you need to be put here. And that's what I did. That's what I did. So yeah, ayahuasca definitely is a tool, okay, to help us, to assist. So yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I don't look at life the same anymore. I could go back the way I was, but honestly, I don't want to. So yeah, life is much more than structured, you know. So that's why I look at a lot of things within humanity. I'm like, wow. Not looking down on everybody. I'm just looking at the idea that we created. I'm like, man, it's just a lot of stuff is unnecessary. But I do believe that everything is changeable. I don't believe that what goes on in the physical plane, everything is set. I don't believe that. Because consciousness is power. I am power. You are power. We are all creator. That's what we are. That's the truth. So yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, that's this. So I just want to say that. Another thing I want to tell you too, the idea of death. Okay, when we are afraid about death, see, the ego is afraid of death. It will throw things at you to suggest for you to be afraid. You see, another thing that the ego is afraid is the void. Okay, the void. The void is basically no identity. It's complete silence. The ego is terrified of that. You know, again, the ego, I'm not saying the ego is like this evil thing, whatever. It's not. It's just because through humanity, we allow it to micromanage us for so long. The ego, any being, no matter what dimension, okay, well, no matter what dimension, okay, it basically, every being from any dimension has an ego. The ego is about identity, you know, it is. Now, when you allow it to micromanage us, when you allow it to micromanage you, that's a different story. It's like, you know, you're putting yourself in a different situation. But the ego, for any being, it has a purpose. But again, I'm going to emphasize, you allow it to micromanage you. So yes, the ego is going to be afraid of the idea of death. It's afraid. That's why you all feeling like, oh my God, my life is over. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna die. But the truth of the matter is, anybody, you know, nobody dies. You always will be alive. You're just not gonna be in the same body. You know, you're gonna be in a different form. But you see, your ego don't like that. You know, it doesn't like that. It doesn't understand how things work on a spiritual plane. So when you reconnect with consciousness, okay, when you basically, and this takes, see, for everybody to reconnect with consciousness, I know everybody goes through a different process. A lot of us decide to when to wake up and when not to wake up. But when you actually question yourself on the structured thing that you created and I created, when you tend to question that, and when you have awareness, that's the first step. When you are aware, a lot of stuff that's just nonsense, like why do I following this stuff? Like life is more than that. That's great news. That's a sign that you're waking up. That's great news. When you put the ego in its place, you're gonna basically feel at peace with yourself. You're gonna basically feel like, wow, like everything is possible. You're gonna say to yourself that life is infinite. I inspire you, everybody, to do a lot of self-talk. Do a lot of self-talk for yourself, okay? Do that, okay? And it's just so important. I would inspire everybody to take ayahuasca, okay? Take ayahuasca. I inspire you because it definitely will help you. It definitely will, because that's one of the things that it helped me out. But yeah, for me, I have other situations that helped me, or other things that happened to me spiritually that I reconnected. But ayahuasca, I would say it's a great tool. So I really would inspire people to do that, to do the research for yourself at least, okay? Again, everybody, everything that's been built or put together, these structure, everything, a lot of it is very egotistic. Again, the ego is not evil. It's not like the Satan character, like these religious ideas that we created. That's another egotistic thing. It's not. It's just that we allow it to micromanage. We allow the ego to be the worrisome. But if you understand who you are, if you look at life from within, that life is much more greater, and that life is infinite, you see, you could do it. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe that you deserve the best thing in life. You really gotta say that to yourself. I inspire everybody to do a lot of self-talk. Really say it to yourself and believe it, and develop that mentality within yourself that you deserve every best thing in life. That's the truth. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, it doesn't matter. You deserve every best thing in life. And it's not about you having an edge over somebody. That's another egotistic idea. It's not about that. You don't need to have, you see, you know who you are? You don't need to have an edge over anybody, because your consciousness doesn't need to have an edge over anything, because consciousness is basically the physical and the unseen. So think about it. You know, but yeah, I know I said a lot. I did my best to come up with some good examples. So yeah, again, the ego is not, it has a purpose, okay? Every being has an ego, okay? I know I'm talking a little bit about like other beings from different dimensions. I just have to say something a little bit outside of being human. Every being has an ego. It's just that its ego is about identity. It's part of consciousness. Okay, again, when you allow it to basically dictate how you feel and control everything you do, okay, then that's something that you have to really address that to yourself. You gotta put it in its place, okay? You are consciousness, okay? That's what you are. And that's it, you know? I truly believe that everybody listening to this clip that's inspired and basically at least take the step of basically acknowledging that you are worthy of every great thing in life. I don't record things from my heart, but just BS. I'm saying this to you because you are me and I am you. That's the truth. I'm not better than you. I'm not. You're not better than me. I'm not lower than you, and I'm not higher than you. The same goes for everybody. So, you know, I truly believe that you listen to this clip, that you're inspired, and yeah. So I'll definitely this clip's been very interesting for me to do, and I'll definitely be back with another interesting topic. Take care.